So I'm sitting here with Dave. I'm going to say this wrong. Critchlow.
Excellent. You got it. Way to go. Mother would be proud.
Welcome to 5-Star Talks. I'm your host, Carl Thornton. This podcast is dedicated to enhancing the already great little village of Colon, Michigan. In this episode, I spoke with Dave Critchlow of Critchlow's Alligator Sanctuary, located in Athens, Michigan, about 20 miles northeast of Colon. I had an absolute blast. Dave was so fun, effervescent, so informative. I really didn't know where to edit, but I think it's super interesting. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Lo siento. That's all I know.
Can you get the alligator picture behind me there, Jess? Okay. Nothing junky in the background there? No note about how many employees I'm laying off this week?
Oh, my God, I love it. I should have come here years ago. Holy moly. Oh, yeah.
And then my wife says, no more kids. If you can't raise them right, I'm not giving you any more.
All right, so I'm out here in Athens, Michigan, about 20 minutes out of Colon. We decided to start kind of going around the area and showing what the area has to offer, not just within the village limits of Colon, but 20, 30, 40 miles out. So I'm sitting here with Dave at the Alligator Sanctuary in Athens, Michigan. And Dave, I never know how to start this, so take it away. Tell me your life story.
Okay, my life story. Okay, we opened up here about 18 years ago. Actually, we purchased the property a year before that. It took about 6 months to develop it, to put in a perimeter fence, because that was our number one concern. Nothing can get loose. We don't want to start out the world with bad publicity. So it started about 18 years ago, and now we've progressed to the point where we're just super busy all the time, open every day, usually from May 1st till October 1st, so about 6 months out of the year.
Well, what got you into, what made you decide to?
Years and years ago, my previous life, as they would say, I was a FedEx driver, and I did that for 25 years, took an early retirement at the age of 46, so that I could spend a little bit more time with my wife, who had a chronic illness that we knew was going to be limited in her lifespan, and I didn't want to work till I was normal retirement age. So left at 46 and then decided to look at another way to pursue some passions. We're all animal people that work here, especially my kids, who are both directors and co-owners of the place. And so we rescued, I think, 1 or 2 alligators to begin with way back in the day, probably 30 years ago, and collected a few of them at our house before we built anything. And trying to find a piece of property to build on, that's a journey in itself. Right. with something like what I want to build. Okay, this is not a normal.
Right.
Nothing against you. It's not like trying to put in a pizza shop. Okay.
Any dummy can do that.
Right. I wasn't going to say that. And the folks here in Athens actually approached me, the mayor and some of the other community leaders. One here was so nice and just welcomed us with open arms. Now we've become a real positive force, we think, in the area, and then we get good feedback from the local people as well. So, I mean, people are coming in, they're using gas stations and stores and everything else is in town. So we're part of the community. It's so nice to see all that. Specifically, we are what we call specialists at working with crocodilians. So at this point, we have about 200, actually a little over 200. So it's probably the largest collection outside of Gatorland in Florida.
You said this, 4 crocodilians.
Oh, we have 4 species. I mean, there's 4 major groups: crocs, caimans, gharials, and alligators. The 2 types of alligators are American and Chinese. The Chinese is almost extinct. There's only about 200 or so that are left in the wild. We don't have any of those, and there's a reason why we don't have any of those. But it's a highly endangered species. We just have a lot of American alligators. We have a couple of crocodiles and a species or 2 of caiman. So nothing is endangered here. No endangered species. I mean, if the reason we don't have anything too endangered is because we have a policy here. All these animals used to be pets. And to bring us this pet, you have to prearrange it, and then you're going to pay us to take it away from you. So we charge a fee to take your pet alligator away from you. We also work with law enforcement all around the country. They'll do animal control activities, and they'll get an animal and bring it to us. We just had one a couple months ago, and we train animal control people from around the Midwest how to deal with this situation. We offer a course once a year, which is a lot of fun for them folks. Spend a whole day here after the season closes, and they get to work with probably 12 to 15 alligators at different. We do some class lecturing, some hands-on work, and they learn a ton of stuff. It's pretty intense, but they go away with this
there's a couple other things you do too, because I know you came to the Colon 4th of July, I think 2 years ago.
One of our members of our staff does all our outreach education programs, so he'll travel all over the state doing several hundred programs everywhere, and he'll bring a small collection of animals. He'll either give a private a presentation, a set program, or he'll do like what we call a meet and greet, where he just kind of sits around, talks to people, shares stories, and lets you touch some of the animals and share some of his experiences that he's had. But from all of, I know he's done already the Colon Elementary a couple times already this year. Yeah, lots of schools, senior citizen complexes. Let's see, military bases. We've done those many times for major gatherings, and we're part of the entertainment, so we've done some of those. In fact, we're so busy doing those now, we're getting ready to hire another person, so we have 2 people doing that. So
I was surprised how many employees you have out here.
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe 5 of us that are full time.
Yeah.
The rest of them are part time, but categories would be like tour guides, because we give tours out here constantly. It's part of the experience.
If I come out here with the family, you always have
There's
a tour?
always a tour going on.
So you always jump in a tour. You don't go solo. Typically.
I mean, it depends too. I mean, if you're a mom and you've got a 2-year-old kid who's not going to listen to anything we have to say, we highly encourage you to go off and enjoy some of the little kid activities. The normal tours are about an hour 15. So the tour guides have very specific things to do. We also have, especially we'll start in about 3 weeks, we have shows with our animals. We call them shows or presentations. Our bigger animals are trained with words, colors, and some other things, unique items that we do. So those shows take place. I don't know if we're going to do it every day this year, but on the weekends probably for sure, where it's 2 or 3 times during that day, and we'll give demonstrations, go in the exhibit and show you a couple things and interact with the public. And usually there's 60, 70, 80 people come down there and watch that little presentation. So yeah, you see the upper level of one of our main exhibits for our big alligator. That'll be full of people, and then people on the ground, and we give a nice little presentation. It's a lot of fun.
I liked it when you called the alligators and sillies of them started running.
Oh yeah, well, we have a general command that we just yell gators and they all come running. So they're not specifically trained. They just know, oh, that's a magic word. Let's all come over and eat. Come, gators, gators, come.
Isn't that crazy?
Now, it's only been a few days because don't know, are you really want to play with me or you want to grab me? Give me a couple more weeks where they're all nice and relaxed and they all just come running over. They're waiting for food to be thrown over.
Okay.
And this little one here, this is Lola. One of my employees is kind of bonded to this animal. So she's beginning to communicate. She's actually teaching it a color now. We have, see one
Look
here.
at
I
them
can
keep
show
coming.
you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they'll keep coming.
This one's
They're coming over
food,
here.
huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool how we train them
cool.
to learn their names. There's some techniques, and we share that kind of information there. And I could do that real quick if you want me to tell you how we train an alligator the name. So when we get a new alligator, we want him to get comfortable right away before we start interacting with him. Now, when the owner brings us that gator, we're trying to get as much information about that animal as we can so we can communicate with it. So we ask they seem like silly questions, but they help us come up with a communication path for that animal. So we're finding out, did he have a filtration system? What color was it? Did he rip it and tear it apart all the time? Did it make noises? Would it vibrate? What was the position located at in the aquarium or the setup? All those little things help us communicate with that animal. So then when we get it, and what was he eating? That's the big one. What did you feed him? And they'll get anything from table scraps to rats and mice to some really well animals that get shrimp and lobster and all kinds of other good stuff. But dog food, all kinds of things are going to, but we try to transition them to a Purina product that's very healthy for them, nutritious for them, but allows us to get personal with the animal as well. The way we teach them their name is once they're learning that the biscuit and it floats, once they're eating it, we can come up to that animal. Let me just use for an example the name Spot. We might have an alligator which his name is Spot, which we do. Actually, I have 3 alligators named Fluffy. Right. Anyway, we'll take the biscuit, we'll throw it next to his head, and they grab the biscuit. When they grab the biscuit, we say his name. So you grab it, we say Spot. Give him another biscuit, Spot. Give him another one, Spot. So he's learning that word means not his name so much, it means it's food related, okay? And then I'll go to another animal whose name is Tom. and I'll throw one, and I'll do the same thing with Tom. And I will ignore Spot. No, we won't look at him. We won't give him any food. We'll just ignore him, and he'll learn. At first, he's impatient. You're saying noises. How come I'm not getting food? And he'll learn that that is not the important word, and they'll learn the decipher of those things. Eventually, we can do that with multiple animals, and you go in there and you yell for one name out of a group of 20, and one animal comes up to you. And the first time you watch that, you go, I don't believe what I just saw. And these animals are really good at paying attention to that and listen to that. It's really neat to watch the zookeepers when they teach them. Sometimes we use interns here as well. The first time they do it, they go, this is so cool. That animal knows who I am. He knows who I am. And he won't go to anybody else except for me. So it's kind of neat, that transition. And then we can expand. We also teach them colors, geometric shapes we're working on as well. The bigger ones we haven't done it in a while, but our real big one was actually crate trained. We just say the word crate, he walks into a crate all by himself. You have any idea how much time that saves us to get an animal to volunteer? Some of these animals, when they learn the crating, they're so excited about participating. You get in there and say crate, and they go run in the crate. And so I have an animal that's comfortable with that. Now, we don't just put them into a big crate. There's little incremental steps that help us teach that animal those techniques. And they do it because there's a food reward. There's obviously a food reward involved in that. But to see them do that, it's very rewarding. It is very rewarding.
And then when we're walking around, I noticed you had, and you explained it, maybe you can hit it up again, the different age groups to keep them separate.
Everything is separated by sizes, so they're not going to beat each other up so much. Can't put, for the most part, actually at all, we don't put like 10-footers in with 3-footers. So we have what we call as a nursery, which are our tiniest ones. We have a preschool a little bit bigger. We have a gazebo section for 4-year-olds. Elementary is about 5 to 6. Middle school is anywhere from like 8 to about 15 years old. We have a new junior high we opened up last year, and our high school setup is for 16 to about 22.
So this is the kindergarten section. And so this is the elementary.
Very good. He's got it down.
The teenagers are over there.
Teenagers to the left.
To the left.
Yep, and we have the junior high we're going to see yet, high school, and then some other special animals.
This is Dave. Dave's been so shy, it was hard to get him to say a word.
I know. Yeah, because there's kind of a joke that goes around here because we give tours all the time.
Oh my God.
Tour guys, and those guys like to take tours.
This place is so cool.
Yeah, it's a 3 or 4 hour tour. So my son bought me this shirt that says the SS Minnow. And then there's some individual stalls we have here too for animals that have either unique stories, or they're so big they can't go with anybody else. And sometimes they're paired, sometimes they're not. It depends on their individual situations. But given those tours, we explain all that information on the tours so you have an idea. I mean, we don't mind if you come in and walk around and look at things, but you're going to miss so much. Even though we have signage that we put up that tells some of those stories.
Yeah. It was a great tour.
He lived with 3 dogs. He would sit on the couch with 3 dogs.
Really?
Charlie thinks he's a dog. So we go out and pet him, feed him out of our hands, talk about great pizza locations in the area, that kind of thing. Like how I plugged you there, sir?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Do you have like a favorite animal?
Well, I mean, we have to say Godzilla, who's been with us for about 19 years. He got to us, obviously, a long time ago. But if something happened to him, we'd have to close down for a while because I'd be so depressed for a while. I'd have to wear a black armband and go back to therapy again and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, he's just a great animal to work with. With myself, my daughter, my son, and a couple other staff members work with him a little bit too. But
how long have you had him?
19 years. And came out of the Cadillac, Ludington area.
And you started how many years ago?
We had him in our house.
Oh.
We had him in our house before we got. Is that what you're doing, testing me with mathematics here?
No.
Yeah. I think he was like 56 inches when we first got him. Now he's like 120 inches. So something like that.
He's massive, yeah.
Yeah.
And was he in with the...
He's in with another female there, Medusa, who came out of the Manchester area. So their boyfriend, girlfriend. She's actually laid eggs once for us back in 2019. Last year, she actually built another nest because we thought she was going to lay eggs again, but she never did. Sometimes we get nest building activity and they just don't want to drop them. So, or they don't have them to begin with. So, but we like provide resources for the animals. Because the first year we had that exhibit done, which was probably 5 years ago, she started scraping at the ground, trying to get resources to build her nest. And there's nothing in there. It was just barren ground. So we're running around throwing grass and leaves and twigs. We're going to let her build it. She knows what to do. You just got to give her the tools to do it.
Right.
And so we're starting to throw stuff in there, and she built a nest and laid eggs one year. Essentially what they do is they're making, if you all know what a compost pile is.
Yeah.
The alligators build what we call mound nesters. Crocodiles are hole nesters, which means they're digging a hole in the ground and putting their eggs in the ground. So if you think about it, the ground has to be warm all the time. So crocodiles live within, I think it's 600 miles of the equator, where it's warm all the time. They don't need to build the compost pile. An alligator is further north, so he has evolved to learn, because he probably had YouTube when he was younger or something, he figured all that out. And he learns to build this compost pile, and it generates heat. And when it reaches a certain temperature, the temperature in that nest has to be, if you ever put your hand inside the compost pile, it's warm, okay? So it has to be in the 85 to about 95 temperature range. We actually know what it's exactly for my animals up here. But the first time it happened, they built nests, and we put temperature probes in there to see what the temperature. I knew what it was supposed to be, but we're 900 miles away from natural activity, and I didn't know if we had behavioral changes that were different than the natural world. So we wanted to document and do a little research. And they would build it, add more resources to it, and the temperature would rise up from 82 to 85 to 88 to 90. And when it got to about 92, then she would build a little cave hole in the nest and drop her eggs in. So it was kind of, we actually put hunting cameras out there.
Trail cam.
Yeah, so we can monitor that. Back in the days when technology wasn't that great.
And what did you do with the eggs?
Well, the first year it happened, we had 3 girls get gravid or pregnant here, and we had 140 eggs between 3 girls.
Wow.
Now, we're not here to make more baby alligators. That's just not what we do. But because we live up north here, we have a natural stopper or inhibitor of the final step of that process. They always do this, as I said, halfway through August. They build their nest, and the eggs have to be in that nest for about 60 days, 2 months or so. But it cannot get colder than 80 degrees, or all the eggs are going to become what we call infertile. The end result is it's way too cold. So October, it's too cold, and the eggs have already become infertile. But what we do, I don't think I told you this outside, is we remove the eggs almost immediately. Because I didn't do it today. I didn't jump in one of the exhibits and show you some of the animals. But when we have a girl who has laid eggs, it takes 5 employees to go in there. She instantly changes from a cool alligator to a mother. And all she wants to do is protect her nest. It's very dangerous in there. So we have to do it very quickly, so it takes like 3 or 4 employees to keep her away while we're removing eggs and get them out there. And it takes about 2 or 3 weeks, they settle down, and we can go back to playing games. But we get them out just because it helps reduce the tension that's in the exhibit. So that's kind of, and then the following year is what we've done. In the first year, we actually incubated a couple, so we hatched 2 here on purpose just so I could prove that I could do something like that. The next year, we got some more eggs, and sometimes we give them away to colleges, universities, science departments, things like that, as research or extended science projects, as it were. But we've never had anything hatch outside, so we have special arrangements with different. I don't know if I've ever given any to Cullen, but I think I've given some once or twice to Union City, the science department. But there's special techniques to hatching those. Part of what we want people to know is learn about the animal we're trying to manage. Okay? Get some respect for it. Understand what we're trying to accomplish.
Most, or I guess all of yours have been kind of a rescue?
I was just going to go there. That's a good question. They're all brought to us from mostly from people. We have a couple, maybe a handful or so, from zoos where they were either shutting down an exhibit or they're having some changes take place and they need to get rid of the animals, so they get in contact with us and we'll arrange something there. A few from animal control, as I mentioned earlier. Like that, we get about 20 to 30 each year. Something like this, if it gets out and the right person hears it, they'll find out they've got a little alligator they need to get rid of. And usually they're 3-4 feet long when they need to get rid of it.
Five Star Talks is sponsored by 5 Star Pizza in Lower, Southwest Michigan, and LaGrange, Indiana, and also by Graminetti Cheesecakes. Stop in and get yours today.
Because we're so unique on what we do, you have to go about 900 miles to see something like this. So South Carolina, Florida, to see something like this. We have alligators that have come to us from 21 states. In fact, I'm gonna do it this year. I'm gonna put state flags to represent. We have an alligator from your state. I think that's just a little added
that's cool.
coolness to the parks. So we get from law enforcement maybe 4 or 5 a year.
Oh, really?
But sometimes the one we just got 3 months ago was from the people that we had just trained from a year ago. So they wanted to volunteer to bring it over here. So they knew how to capture, restrain, hold, house, take care of the animal in the meantime. So all that training they got here, they got to actually put it into practice and then bring it to us. So
that's one of my favorite tours I've ever done. And it was 20 minutes
I'm
from
in the top 10? He's only done 11.
20 from where I live, and life just gets busy and you make excuses.
Tell me about it. Yes.
You know.
I mean, right now I'm probably about 90% retired up here, so I spend most of my time living at my new house in Florida. So
nice.
My kids run this place year round. They don't really need me anymore.
So your kids taking over?
Yeah, they're taking over, and there's grandkids that participate somewhat too. But my daughter's the real expert. She's graduate of Western, worked with Disney behind the scenes, been in the rainforest, done research there. Central America, you mentioned El Salvador.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said you had been?
I was married in Panama. Oh. She's done additional research in Panama. She would research poison dart frogs, but she went in the jungle. They grabbed a wild caiman. She's in a camp full of guys. None of the guys would touch it. She's jumping out of the boat grabbing caiman, and the boys are scared to death. So she's the real expert.
And you said you're both bilingual?
Yeah, we're both bilingual. We'll do Spanish tours out here. Mostly it's me. She's too busy doing operational things, but she'll do some. But I enjoy it because it helps keep my tongue loose. Those two languages, you'll have a tired out tongue rolling your R's.
How did you learn Spanish?
Well, my wife was from Panama.
Oh,
she was when I met her in high school. She was so, and I wanted to talk to her so bad as a high school kid that I needed to learn her language. She came here as an exchange student, so she spoke no English. And grace to God, I had a Spanish teacher, who was excellent, and I was highly motivated. And so when you were in this teacher's classroom, you walked in the door, you spoke Spanish. So it allowed me to accelerate. In fact, when I went to college, you know what CLEP is, or advanced level?
You CLEP out.
I CLEP'd right out. I walked into the Spanish class for a 4-hour class and talked with the teacher with 3 or 4 sentences. Out of here. So I got 4 credit hours right off the bat.
Nice.
Because that was good. So I'm not really good, but I don't speak as fast as my in-laws do. Those people, I don't understand. So,
are they still down in?
Yeah, there's many of there, but I do have family in various parts of the country. Okay. So some bloodlines from various parts of the country. But
I had 6 exchange students.
Did you?
4 of them spoke Spanish. I didn't learn
nothing.
I learned a couple bad words.
Well, you didn't learn servicio, like bathroom, and cerveza, at least beer.
El baño.
El baño, servicio, it's the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, I really miss my wife, who passed away about 3.5 years ago, because she was my conduit to, how do I say this? ¿Cómo se dice la palabra? So, how do I say that? She was my walking bilingual. I couldn't get her to speak a lot of it for some reason. She would do it if there was somebody who really needed it. But she wanted
to speak English.
She wanted to force that. I think there was some parental things in the back of her mind.
I got you.
That's
off track.
okay.
My fault, sorry. So
I never get off track, sir.
So we're gonna have a beer after this. Are you? You're 7 days a week for this?
Yeah. We open every day from May 1st until and the hours are 11 to 4 every day. And let me reiterate this, because we'll still get calls. What about 4th of July? We're open. What about special holidays? We're open every day. And so we've kind of avoided. Our answering machine says every day, but we'll still get calls. Are you open today? If it rains and there's a thunderstorm, we're open. Okay. I usually get sarcastic and say, if it rains at Disney, do they close down the park? No, neither do we. Nice. We're open.
like that attitude.
So,
I love that attitude. And then you pick it's kind of seasonal, like it's a May 1st, boom, we can go.
May 1st as I said, we're open, but it's a little slower because people are still in school. Usually by the time schools are out, so June 5th 1st. And beyond. So by the 15th of June, we're busy every day. Okay. I mean, we have some weekends like Memorial Weekend. That's a really busy weekend for us. 4th of July weekend would be also. And also we have, I didn't mention, we have night tours, or what we call twilight tours, 3 nights a week, which is all on our website at alligatorsanctuary.com. Okay? So go to that and you'll find all kinds of really cool information. But the night tours, we give a guided tour, hand you a flashlight, a free complimentary flashlight with our logo on it. And you get to experience what it's like to see an alligator at night. Because most people in Florida don't even know what an alligator, they've never seen an alligator at night. And part of our purpose is to tell, because everybody's moving to Florida, so real estate prices are high. So part of my purpose as a resident there is to teach people up here that are moving down there how to spot an alligator. Because if I send you down there and you know how to find an alligator, you're going to look at property where there's a lake and there's 15 alligators there at night, you won't buy that property, which will depress those prices, and I can get a good deal on something. I'm all self-motivated, okay? I never have enough property.
Yeah. It's expensive down there. If you do the night guided tour, is that again an hour and a half?
It's probably about an hour and a half, maybe a little more extensive, and there's an age limit on that, so you have to be like 10 or older. It is a lot of fun for folks. It is a lot of fun. I mean, just to be able to see alligators at night, you think you're looking at stars. They're all on the ground. So
okay,
it's an extra fee to do that, but you can go through our website and book ahead of time, all that kind of stuff. I think it's $20.
Okay.
Let me just point this out there, because sometimes we get apprehension from the public that are scared. They don't want to come in here. The animals are not running around loose. Let me get that out there right now. Right. They're behind. Actually, for an alligator to get out, he's going to have to go through about 3 fences. And they can't get out the first one, okay? There's a big difference between alligators and crocodiles. Alligators are pretty easy to work with. They don't look at us as something they want to eat. Crocodile looks at you a little different. We only have 2 crocodiles. So. Although when you walk by his exhibit, he will stare at you. So it's a little intense. And we haven't really started officially working with him at any extensive rate. But he's growing at such a fast rate now. He's about a little over 7 feet long right now, that we're going to have to plan a bigger exhibit, because he's going to get 15, 18 feet long. You don't want to move this animal more than once. So we're going to build a nice big exhibit so that he goes in there at 8 feet, 9 feet, and then grows into it. So I think the exhibit will be multifaceted to begin with. And then if we put other animals in there, we'll just kind of shrink them out, and then eventually he'll own the whole thing, assuming he's the only crocodile that we have. And he came out of New York State. He was an educational animal for a teacher who suddenly passed away and left his wife with a crocodile in the house. Well, guess what she did? She called us and come take this thing. I said, no, I'm not taking it. But she grabbed a friend and she drove, I think, 9 straight hours down here from New York State. So when we capture the croc, he just kind of relaxed. So we can tell he's been held before. He doesn't like to get caught, and that's pretty intense, okay? But once you got him under control, he's used to, okay, people want to touch me and see me, that's fine. We don't do a lot of that with our animals. We only do it if we have to, because especially as, I don't know if I mentioned that once they're a certain size, we begin communicating with the animals. Once we start officially communicating with an animal, we don't like to pick them up and showcase them. They're not part of any of our encounters or our road trips, anything like that. Because that sends all kinds of mixed messages to the animal about, what are you trying to communicate to me? So once you're trained, if you've been on the road doing shows and then you're too big and we train you, you don't go back to being in the public. That way we work with you in the exhibit here at the facility. So,
and we talked about the crocs. We talked about the tortoises.
We have
all kinds
25,
of sizes.
30 African sulcatas, a lot of those. I think we have 3 Russian tortoises, which are not a big tortoise. Lots of aquatic turtles.
Something the box tortoise?
Well, the eastern boxes came from a zoo out of Michigan City, Indiana, so we have no box turtles here from Michigan. It's illegal to have one of those. We don't have any indigenous animals here to Michigan, so no painted turtles, no snapping turtles. We do have alligator snapping turtles, but they're not a native species here. Totally different. even though everybody claims there's one in my lake. No, there is not. Okay, it's just a snapping turtle. Which is a whole nother speech I can give, but you don't have a soapbox big enough for that one. So,
this might be a dumb question, but
no, it isn't. I have heard them all. Yeah.
So the alligators only go down so far south, and crocs,
right?
They don't mix. I'm assuming.
Well, that is a good question. We do. America is the only place where crocodiles and alligators live together. Now, there are crocodiles in the United States, but they only live Miami and south. You will get a mixture of the alligators and the crocodiles down there. Every once in a while, we'll find one that swims up into the Fort Myers.
Okay.
Last year, 2 years ago, the one that swam up into Jensen Beach, which is halfway up the East Coast between there, Miami and Jacksonville.
Okay.
That is a long ways for that crocodile. So the Fish and Wildlife will actually grab that animal and relocate him down south again. I think there's only like 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 crocs down there. Not that many. So, I mean, there'll be a few down there, but the gators are everything else. You won't find any crocs in Louisiana, Mississippi. It's way too cold up there for them. Has to be warm.
And then the alligators will only go so far south.
Well, they're only there just aren't any past my southern part of Florida.
There's no
alligators in Key West.
In Central America.
No. They have caiman and they have crocodiles. So they have several species down there. Okay. So they don't have any alligators.
Is it just too warm for it? I mean, is it?
There's just no alligators down there. There's just
not where they're
not. They're just not a natural.
Okay.
Other than the Chinese alligator, which is in eastern China. So that's where they're located.
Okay.
Two different sides of the planet. And that actually is here when our animals brumate or go in the wintertime, they slow down. They're not really asleep. They're brumating. The Chinese alligator will actually slow down quite a bit and dig a little bit of a tunnel and actually go in the ground and hide for about 4 months or so. So it's a smaller animal, a more compact animal, more what we call scalation, more scales to them, a more armored shape to him. I mean, I could tell the difference between the Chinese and American, but most people can't unless you identify with
It was interesting. A couple of the alligators out there were you were explaining because they were strikingly lighter colored skin.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you come out here and you see alligators with brighter stripes than anybody else, now the little ones are hatched with bright stripes because it helps them hide from predators in their zone. So they hide in the weeds, in the marsh, and they blend in with that environment. But the older they get, usually by the time they're 5 or 6 feet long, they've lost most of that pattern, and then they're becoming the apex predator, and the only thing they got to worry about is a bigger alligator. Okay, but anytime you come out here, you'll see animals that are brighter than other ones, and that just means they're new to our zoo because they've been living indoors. Yeah. So no sunlight, no direct sunlight for a while. They've been living in an aquarium, a house, a building. If we get one at the end of June and the first week in July, and he is super bright white, and you didn't see any super bright white ones out there, but if you get one that's really bright white, we will not put him outside. Because at that time of the year, we're getting about 15 hours of sunlight or UV light. We'll take that animal and put him in our greenhouse or in a strictly shaded area so he can get acclimated to the UV light. Because he'll go sit out in the sun. That's his instincts are go sit in the sun. He'll burn his skin a little bit. And that causes skin issues for us to have to do some follow-up work with. So kind of let him transition into the summertime. Anytime beyond that, it's okay. And then we put him outside with everybody else after about a month or so. So he's getting used to getting a suntan.
That was neat. It's
like sitting on the beach in Florida. You go sit there for 12 hours. You're gonna be hurting. Yeah. Another common thing. Do I have a second, Danny?
Yeah, do whatever you want. You keep going.
Because we get this a lot too, and I just find this interesting because I love to be able to explain this. Do we have to have salt water for the crocodiles?
Oh, I should.
Okay, that's okay. So don't roll your eyes. I know everybody. That's a good question.
Screw that up.
Yeah. Crocodiles they have a special gland. They have a gland in them in their head area that allows them to get rid of the excess salt they come in contact with. So they can swim, they can hunt, they can live. They're quite comfortable in the ocean. They don't need it. They can go in fresh water, but they have the ability to survive and be comfortable in salt water. Okay? So they can do either one. So I don't need to have salt water for my crocodiles. They're quite comfortable in the fresh water. They can just handle either one. Now, the cool part is the alligators have that same gland, but it doesn't work. It's what some of us call junk DNA. He hasn't used it for 3 to 4 million years. It's been off. But what cool has happened every 6 months or so, we see an alligator swimming on the beach in Florida. So we think over the next million years, that land's going to turn back on. And it can't take place overnight. That kind of change takes generations for that to become normal. But it's interesting to see that. But the alligator just can't spend a lot of time in the salt water. Short amounts, but he's not making a living out in the saltwater like a croc would.
But the croc can go either.
He can go either. He can go out and hunt sharks. You'll see lots of things. They'll hunt all kinds of things. He can swim from island to island. So the Keys, there's crocs that swim island to island. They can do that. The alligator's not going to do that for very long.
That's very interesting.
It is. I get that question, especially from little 8 and 9 year old paleontologists who think they know everything, right? And we just raise the game a little bit. That's all. There's once in a while there's a kid you can see who's dead serious, and he's already spent his entire life researching alligators and crocs. Well, that kind of kid we keep in touch with their parents,
right?
Because I want him working out here when he's eligible age.
Yeah.
And some of my people are that.
Yeah.
That came out here when they were 6 and 7 years old. Oh yeah, they've gone through the entire process of being excitable, passionate. It's the other cool things that we can teach you how to work with that animal. We have people that have been out here 10, 12, 15 years.
Wow.
Some as volunteers for a long time. So, and then becoming permanent employees. So
that's good.
I like to look and see what kind of attitude you have.
Attitude's important, huh?
I look for kind of if you're going to be a good team member to us and you're going to get along, then we'll seriously. Yeah. I watched your work ethics.
Yeah, no, it seemed like you had a pretty good staff.
I have excellent. I have the best people, and they're always serious. We have some serious meetings. Not all of us agree, but we'll get down and figure something out. What's good for the animal? And I love that concept.
Yeah.
Everybody's good at one thing. Let's put it all together and make something successful. So we want to do what's best for the animal.
Well, I can't thank you enough. Again, I apologize for not coming.
I'll let it go this time. But
I mean, life just gets in the way. I know it's ridiculous.
It surely does.
But,
I know.
There's probably other things that I just have missed, but this is a big one. And my wife and granddaughter came out here maybe 2 seasons ago.
Oh.
And so now I'm going to do that night tour. That is exciting.
I mean, like I told you, the first place we take you, there's about 50 to 60 alligators in there, and when we have you turn on your flashlights, you just won't believe it. It's worth it. It's worth the $20 just to see that. Just to see that. And then there's another hour and a half of entertainment education after that.
All right. Well, Dave, thank you. I truly appreciate it. It's been a blast.
It's been my pleasure.
All
Hope
right.
you learned 1 or 2 things. And come on out and see us. Open every day, 11 to 4, alligatorsanctuary.com.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.